Most people think being a great rider is about skill, how fast you can corner, how smooth your throttle is, how many miles you have under your belt. But here is what nobody talks about, the thing that actually separates truly intelligent riders from the rest. It is not what they do on the bike. It is what they absolutely refuse to do before the ride, during the ride, and especially when other people are watching. And some of these are going to make you uncomfortable. Stay with me until the very end, because the fifth one on this list is something almost every rider does every single time they swing a leg over the bike without ever realizing it is quietly making them worse. Let us be honest about something first. Real riding intelligence does not show up in your bike specs. It doesn't show up in how loud your exhaust is or how your gear looks. It shows up in how you think, how you make decisions, and how you handle yourself when no one is watching. Studies on rider behavior show that the most dangerous moments on a motorcycle are rarely caused by a lack of skill. They are caused by a failure in thinking, a bad decision, a moment of ego, a pressure that had nothing to do with the road. Intelligent riders know this, and they protect their thinking the same way they protect their body. Here are all 5. Point 1. They never ride to prove something to someone else. Pay close attention to this one because it looks different than you think. When most riders are around other people, whether it is a group ride, a red light, or just another rider pulling up next to them, something shifts. A little voice turns on. Keep up. Show them what you can do. Do not look slow. Do not look scared. And so they push harder than they planned. They take a corner faster than they are comfortable with. They hold a gear too long just because someone is watching. Intelligent riders do not play that game, not because they have nothing to prove, but because they understand who they would be proving it to, and they decided a long time ago that that person's opinion is not worth their life. Their confidence does not need an audience. It lives inside the ride itself, in the smoothness of a well-timed brake, in the patience of holding their line through a corner that asked for patience. When ego drives the throttle, the road always wins. Intelligent riders know this, so they keep ego out of the controls. Point 2. They never let the group decide their limits. Think about this one carefully because it is responsible for more crashes than most riders will admit. Group riding has a pull, a social pressure that is almost invisible until it's already working on you. Everyone else is doing 85. Everyone else blew through that curve. If you slow down, you fall behind. If you fall behind, you feel like you do not belong, and so riders push past their own limit not because the road demanded it, but because the group did. Intelligent riders never let that happen. They ride their own ride, full stop. It doesn't matter if the person ahead is faster. It doesn't matter if the group is pulling away. They know exactly where their skill ends and the danger begins, and they do not cross that line for anyone's approval. Here's the thing most people miss about group pressure on a motorcycle. The road does not care about your social life. It does not care that you didn't want to look slow. It does not slow down when your brain gets distracted by keeping up. Intelligent riders treat their limit like a boundary, not a suggestion, and they feel zero shame about it. Point 3. They never stop learning after they get comfortable. Here's where things get really interesting. There's a stage every rider hits, a few thousand miles in. The basics feel easy. The bike feels familiar. You stop stalling. You stop dropping it in parking lots. And a thought creeps in. You have figured this out. Most riders settle right there. They stop taking courses. They stop asking questions. They stop watching themselves honestly. Because asking for help now feels like admitting you were never as good as you thought. Intelligent riders do the opposite. They get more curious the better they get, because they understand something about skill. The more you actually learn, the more clearly you can see how much you still do not know. They'll take an advanced riding course with 10 years of experience and find 3 things they were doing wrong the whole time, and they won't feel embarrassed. They'll feel grateful. This is not about being insecure. It's about being honest. Riding is one of those activities where the cost of a blind spot is not a bruised ego, it's a trip to the hospital. Intelligent riders stay students because the road keeps teaching new lessons whether you're paying attention or not. They'd rather learn on their terms. Point 4. They never make decisions on the bike when their head is somewhere else. Notice the word never here because this is more important than it sounds. Intelligent riders are not emotionless. They do not float onto the bike like robots with no feeling. They feel things: stress from work, anger from an argument, grief, anxiety, all of it. But here is what they do not do. They do not let that emotional noise follow them onto the road. Before they ride, they check themselves the same way they check their tire pressure. Am I actually here right now, or is my head still in that conversation from an hour ago? Am I angry? Am I rushing? Because they know something that most riders learn only after something goes wrong. A distracted mind on a motorcycle is just as dangerous as a wet road, maybe more. When you are angry, your reaction time gets slower, even though it feels faster. When you are stressed, you start scanning less and staring more. When you are in a rush, you stop leaving space. You start gambling with margins you cannot afford to lose. Intelligent riders create a wall between their emotional state and the ride, not because they are suppressing something, but because they respect the machine enough to give it their full mind, and they respect themselves enough to come home. Point 5. They never confuse gear miles with growth miles. This is the one that will change how you see your own riding. We live in a culture that worships seat time. More miles means more experience. More experience means more skill. If you have ridden long enough, you have earned the right to call yourself experienced. But intelligent riders see through this completely. They know the difference between a rider with 10 years of experience and a rider who repeated the same year of experience 10 times, because those are two very different riders, and the road can tell them apart, even if they cannot. Riding the same commute in the same conditions at the same pace every single day for 10 years does not make you a better rider. It makes you a more comfortable rider, and comfort and skill are not the same thing. Intelligent riders are intentional about growth. They do not just rack up miles. They put themselves in situations that push their skill forward, on purpose. A new type of road, different weather, a technique they've been avoiding because it exposed a weakness. They know that the ride that challenged them taught them more than 100 easy rides. Miles are not the measure. Growth is. When you put all 5 of these together, something becomes very clear. Intelligent riders are not trying to look good on the road. They are trying to be good on the road. They are not letting ego drive. They are letting awareness drive. They are not following the group off a cliff. They are trusting themselves enough to ride their own ride. They are not coasting on old skill. They are always finding the next edge of what they can do. They are not riding with a full head and empty focus. They are showing up completely every single time. That's not just smart riding. That's the kind of riding that keeps you on the bike for decades, that keeps the people who love you from getting that phone call. Real intelligence on a motorcycle is quiet. It doesn't rev loud at the stoplight. It doesn't need to cut you off to feel fast. It shows up in the decisions nobody else sees. The corner you took a little wider, the gap you chose not to fill, the ride you didn't take because your head wasn't right. The question is not whether you're a skilled rider. The question is, which of these 5 is still showing up in your riding, and what changes when you finally notice it? Drop a comment below and tell me which one hit hardest, because that answer tells you exactly where your next level is hiding.